Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome to Toned and Toneful, the self-actualization video podcast, episode number 65. Conflict isn't the end. It's the beginning of intimacy. Before we get started this week, I wanted to take a moment to say happy 2026. With this new year, we can start new. For some of us, we need a clean start. For some of us, we need a date to start. And some of us, we just continue our growth every day. But may this January 1st be a starting point for you to renew some of your ideas and renew some of your thoughts that you feel about things that you've been working on for the past year or maybe previous years before. So let's get into this episode. Conflict is a very interesting thing that comes about in life. It's intense. It brings about a lot of emotions. And many times people shy away from it. Some people shy away from this by stonewalling somebody. Some people shy away from this by being completely passive aggressive. And some people become actually naturally very aggressive. But no matter which solution that we choose, it's kind of an interesting thing to notice that conflict is actually the beginning of intimacy, not the end of friendship, not the end of a relationship. Intimacy is brought to us by revealing the inner boundaries that we have and talking about things that might not be viewable from the outside. And while sometimes this can be a very daunting task to be in a conflict with a person that we're close to, and most likely most conflicts that we're in are going to be people that have either extremely different views from us or people who are close to us that we didn't realize that our views might not be exactly the same. But it's not really the biggest deal that we have a conflict, but it's how we deal with that conflict. It's how we resolute from that conflict. Some of us might be the type of people who need to walk away for a little while once we're mad, once we get into an argument, once we realize that someone we really care about has a different opinion. And some of us can't sleep until we have that resolution in mind, till we can feel that there's a connection with those who we love once again before we move on. That's probably why we're hearing varying advice. Some people will say, sleep on it. And you'll have other people say, never go to bed mad at someone that you care about. Never go to bed with a conflict on your mind. Neither one of these answers is 100% correct. One of the things that I've come to realize over time with conflict is that it's very, very revealing of how the person you care about or the person that you're dealing with acts. It's kind of interesting because some of the people that I've had conflicts with will never speak to me again. I might have said something to them that was a little too harsh, or I might have said something to them that they never expected me to say. Maybe they expected me to answer something a little bit differently. And in that answer, they have a certain opinion about me that might have varied, or they might have got to a point where they decide, you know what, I don't want to, deal with it, so they go away. While I've had other people in my life approach me, they go, why is it that you feel that way? What are you thinking about that? And I'm able to be the same to them. I'm actually allowed to discuss what is going on. And to me, that is a very important factor in resolving a conflict, is to be able to see the other person's point of view, maybe not perfectly, but enough to understand why they would think what they're thinking, and then mix that with my compassion that I have for the person and the fact that they're a human being, the fact that they have been there for me. That adds up to a person that I can resolve the conflict with. I'm not a perfect person by any means, and neither is anybody else. And many of us have made mistakes, like missing a phone call from someone multiple times, or not saying, happy birthday to a person on their birthday, or having a completely different opinion on whether you want to have children or not, or whether you think it's a good idea to spend finances now or not. But no matter the reason for the conflict, what is truly revealing on the underside is what someone feels about a situation and your actions. And this is a place that we can take the opportunity to realize that just because we're feeling some tension doesn't mean that we have to cut the tension. Sometimes tension brings about our best. And the way that it can bring about our best is for us to recognize that in those moments, in that tension, there's an ability for us to become closer. There's an ability for us to understand more about the person that we're communicating with, why they feel the way they do, or if they need a break from communicating, how we can be the great person to be in a conflict with. It's kind of funny to think, be a great person to be in a conflict with. Some people I don't mind arguing with, or some people I don't mind dealing with, in the sense that we don't get along about everything, because the way that we deal with it is a very, very positive and forward-moving way of talking about the situation. While others, maybe because we don't see eye to eye, maybe because what their natural inclination is, they need a break before they talk, or maybe I don't need a break. Something is not lining up to where there isn't a good conflict. Above all things, when we get into a conflict, the one thing is to fight fair. Fight for your opinion and fight for the things that you care about without losing who you are and disrespecting the person that you're talking to. Because many times where disrespect is shown to people while they're trying to express themselves, the disrespect never had to happen in the first place. And it brings me to a point to kind of want to go over the idea of, why are we even having these conflicts? Why are we having these conflicts where we can't resolve them? I'm not saying that if someone is physically abusive to you, or someone is verbally abusive, where they don't even take the time to listen to you, they just beat you down. I'm not saying work with that. Because remember, above all things, fight fair. But to run away from tension just because there's a little bit in the relationship is to not understand human dynamic. When we have tension, we can also pull closer together. That allows that pulling to happen, that intimacy, that revelation of the internal value, and that revelation of the internal mindset that you want to express to another person, or they're looking to express to you. Now, just because you have a different way of resolving things doesn't mean that it can't be resolved. If you're a person who notices that the person you're having a conflict with needs a little more time before they can talk, provide them that time. They need it. And if you're the kind of person who, the person you're with really, really needs assurance, they almost can't relax until they realize that there's some sort of resolution or some sort of, a promise of things could be better. You don't have to promise them things could be better, but make sure to let them know, hey, I do care about you, or hey, this is important to me, and I can't deal with it this minute because the way that I function, I need some time to think about the argument that we had, or I need some time to talk about maybe why, within myself, why I feel the way that I do. Maybe the conflict got me so riled up that I can't actually think clearly right now. And not being able to think clearly is going to cause me to make decisions and say things to you that I will regret. And that is not what I want. For what we have is something that would be more clearly communicated. Something that would be given to you in a way that you would feel relieved. And if not, then I can at least tell you in a calm way, hey, this conflict isn't for me, and this is why. But conflict is the way that we can actually achieve what we want in our relationships and also set our boundaries. I think a lot of times people say they're setting boundaries, and then they just kind of say that everything's a red flag and they don't deal with people. I think there is a problem with us being so, over-therapied, that people will use therapy as an underlying level to kind of just not deal with anything. Oh, well, you hurt my feelings and that broke my boundary, because I have a boundary that no one's allowed to hurt my feeling. I have a boundary that no one's allowed to ask things of me. I have a boundary, and it's like, yo. If you want to have relationships in your life and you want to have people in your life, one of the things you must recognize is that the boundaries that you have are going to be looser for those that you care about, and it's going to be tighter for those who you don't align with. But this is your opportunity to grow that intimacy. If you see that someone deals with conflict the same as you do, that puts you in a very advantageous spot to have a relationship with that person, whether that is romantic or that is platonic. It doesn't matter, because the people we need to work with, even in bands, the people we need to work with as artists, and the collaborations that we want to do, they require that we have a boundary, but at the same time, there is a safe space to communicate what those boundaries are and why. And those boundaries could be something as simple as, like, hey, I was looking for this in the project, or there's an explanation to something. Hey, I was looking to be doing 50% of this project. I feel like you're taking over. The other person feels like, well, everything that you're working on is an idea that I like. You can talk about why that is. But it takes a fair amount of humility to be able to listen to somebody. It takes a fair amount of self-emotional control to be able to sit down somewhere and make a safe space for two people or more to dialogue about the things that are going on within themselves and make it something that is fruit, like that has fruit, that bears something better at the end. And if it can't bear something better at the end, people can walk away with respect. People can walk away with what they have in their mind and go, hey, I guess that doesn't work for us. And, maybe we can't do this project. Maybe we can't work on this type of business. So I hope you guys can take this as something to think about in this new year, as relationships are really important, just as important as it is to spend time alone. I think a lot of people might mistake community and community being important for not making time for their self. And some people can mistake having time for yourself and taking a little solitude time so serious that they actually don't know how to build community anymore. We are human beings. We are social creatures. We are meant to be within a realm of to ourselves and with others. And we're supposed to be really having that work in a ebb and flow to what's correct for the time. If you go and tour as a band, you're going to be around people more. And if you're recording in the studio, you might be spending more time in your head, in your creative space alone. So these are some things to think about as 2026 starts, because I want us to all have a strong community. I want us to all have loving people around us in our lives as we go through this next step. As we see that a lot of the world is in a very interesting place, let's be together. Let's stay together and be strong. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful beginning of the year. It's been absolutely incredible doing Toned and Toneful through the end of 2025. Sitting here on this 19th episode since we started back again. And I'm just so glad to be with you guys. Remember that Toned and Toneful is a place for safe communication. And the worksheets, I really hope you guys have been enjoying them. If you guys have gotten to this point, just know that I do have a song coming out. It was supposed to be released a little later last year, and due to some things being a little bit interesting, it wasn't going to be the best song for you guys for multiple reasons, and that's not something I can give to you. Not because I'm a perfectionist, but because that wasn't my best effort, and not even so much on my recording. It's just the way that it is right now, mixing all this other stuff. There's some things that must be done. So I look forward to catching up with you guys in episode 66 next week. But until then, enjoy the new year. Start off right. Let's make some new, beautiful habits. And above all else, stay toned and toneful.